What's going on, guys? So I'm going to give you my final recap and final impressions of this 2022 Toyota Tundra 1794 edition pickup truck. This is equipped with the twin turbo V6, the 6.5 foot bed, the air ride rear suspension. This is just trimmed out as high trim, high spec as you can get one of these, with the 14-inch infotainment system, just about every conceivable option you could get on a Tundra. So I want to give you again my final impressions of this. Hang tight, I'll be right back. All right, let me start off by saying that if you have the previous generation Toyota Tundra and you're looking at one of these, it is going to be a huge advancement in every conceivable way. This truck is going to be so much better in just about every single category than its predecessor. It's going to have so many different technology features, so many different ride features. Just it is such an improvement and a refinement over the previous generation Toyota Tundra. So I just want to start off by saying that, because I know there are a lot of incredibly loyal Toyota owners that will never own any other pickup truck. There's a perceived notion that a Toyota vehicle is built better than any other truck. And if you believe that, if that's what's in your heart and you will only own a Toyota, then you have nothing to fear about upgrading into this new Toyota Tundra. It's just that much better. Even though you no longer have a V8 option, this twin turbo V6 is more powerful, it's more fuel efficient, it's arguably more reliable, but only time is truly going to tell in terms of how overall reliable it is. But the fact is, it's heavily based on the Lexus variant of this engine, which means, quite frankly, it's just going to be a very reliable engine. They've done so many things in terms of enhancements and improvements. They now offer it with a longer bed, a 6.5 foot bed paired to the crew cab version of this. So again, just coming from a previous generation Tundra into this, it's almost a no-brainer. This is just such a more refined, better vehicle. All that said, if you are comparing this to its top competition, which is going to be something like a GMC Denali Ultimate or a Ford King Ranch or Platinum or Limited Series truck or a Chevy High Country or a Ram Laramie Longhorn, it's going to be a tough one, because all of those trucks have advanced so far in terms of just about every category that it's very difficult for a truck like this to edge them out. I'm not saying that it's not competing directly against them. I'm just saying it's hard for it to edge them out in terms of features, amenities, technology, things like that. Now, you could arguably say that the Toyota Tundra is a more reliable truck, but because it's on a brand new platform, it's hard to really say that. You can't make that claim until it's been out for a while. Now, I'm going to go through the various categories that I care about when it comes to a truck like this, and I'm going to give you my impressions really quickly. So from an exterior looks perspective, you know, it still looks very Toyota. It looks very Toyota Tundra, and if that's the look you're going for, then I think that you've definitely got a truck to look at. They've accomplished, you know, not going too far away from what a lot of people would say is a Toyota-looking truck. When you say elegant, though, I think that Ram still edges it out in terms of elegance. I think the GMC Denali still edges it out in terms of elegance. You know, comparably speaking, I think it looks very kind of Ford Chevrolet-ish. It looks kind of like a combination of the two kind of put together. But the reality is that if you like the Toyota look, then you're going to love the way this new truck looks. If you're looking, again, for a different look, well, you have those options. But in the looks category, I think it looks like a good truck. But again, very Toyota-ish, if that makes sense. Now, if you're looking from an interior perspective, let's go ahead and pop the door open so we can kind of reference it while we're talking. You know, Toyota has done a really good job of evolving their interior well above and beyond what the previous Tundra had. I mean, this interior looks amazing. It looks really good. But this is also the 1794 edition, which means that if you get a lower trim package, it's going to have a lower trim looking interior. Now, you're still going to get a big display. You might not get the 14-inch display. You may not get all the cameras. You may not get the really amazing infotainment system behind the gauge cluster, but you're still going to have a nice interior. All of the trucks, when you get them in a lower trim package, have more of a stripped down interior. That said, though, the interior to me looks absolutely amazing. I mean, it looks reminiscent of what you might expect to see if this were a Lexus pickup truck. They've done such a good job in terms of the interior. Now, just like any Toyota product, there's always these little things that kind of confuse you a little bit, such as this area right here. Now I get what it's for. It's very, very purposefully built, and it accomplishes what they try to accomplish in a very utilitarian way, but it just looks kind of interesting at times, this big opening, even though it's for your wireless charging, or this little spot right here, which gives you, you know, 2 areas of storage. It's great, but it's a little off, and it may not appeal to everyone because you lose the capability of having a flat work surface right there if you want it. Plus this ginormous cup holder area that has this enormous flap on top of it. But, you know, those are all minor things. Overall, the interior is pretty dang amazing, and you get the optional panoramic sunroof, which a lot of people are really going to like. Me personally, not a big sunroof fan, but it has it if you want it. Now looking in the back, again, beautiful interior. Something that many of the other domestic brands have gone away from is this large transmission hump here in the center. Toyota still has it, sticks up about 4.5–5 inches. It certainly is an obstacle that you do have to overcome if you want something flat back here. You know, the back of the headrests, that's questionable in my opinion. It looks kind of weird, but you know, it's not bad. I absolutely love the shades in the window though. I mean, this is such a great feature, and you typically see that on a luxury SUV or a luxury sedan. So it's really nice to know that you get that on the Toyota Tundra, or at least the high trim package if you want it. But overall, the interior of this truck is absolutely gorgeous, and it rivals the interior of any of the nicest trucks that it competes against. I mean, this is absolutely something that if you got in this truck after getting into a Ram Laramie Longhorn or a Ford King Ranch or a GMC Denali Ultimate, you would say that this kind of competes directly against them. So interior-wise, it's a nice interior. I think they did a really good job. Tons of legroom, tons of seating space in here. The interior is very well appointed, but it's also set up in a way that's very useful, and it's going to be a good seating area for anybody sitting in the front or the back. So again, that's something worth considering. The interior looks really nice. So far we have a truck that from an exterior perspective is going to be very competitive for those looking for a pickup truck that looks really nice. From an interior perspective, it's arguably top of its class. It looks beautiful from the interior. You know, from a bed perspective, it has a plastic bed, or at least a composite bed. It has a nice thick rubber mat, which is optional, but they moved away from the steel bed or the aluminum bed like you would see in some of its competitors. Now, the interesting thing about this, though, is this is really what you could consider an evolution, right? The only thing that directly competes against this would be like the Yukon Denali Carbon Edition, which has the carbon bed. But this is pretty cool technology, so I have to give them a thumbs up for this. Another area that I've mentioned before is the back window on this truck rolls completely down. You know, they've had that feature for some time, and nobody's been able to kind of come up against it because it's pretty awesome, to be honest, just the fact that you can roll the entire back window down. So another big thumbs up for Tundra if that's something you may be interested in. You got your little utility rails around the side. That's really nothing new in this segment, but it's good to know that they are available. A feature that they have added, which, you know, some of the other trucks have had for a while, but it's nice to see Toyota adding to the Tundra, is the, you know, remote tailgate release. You're still going to have the same problem that you would have with any of the other trucks that have it, that if you do accidentally lock this tailgate and the battery is dead, you may not be able to open your tailgate. So if there's some workaround to that, somebody let me know, but I'm not sure if there is at this point. The other really nice thing is that they've added the tailgate release option here from the side light on your higher trim packages, and an electronic corner step. So that is super cool. So, you know, it comes out when you pop the tailgate, and it goes back in when you put the tailgate up. Very, very nice. So even though Toyota has elected not to get into the tailgate wars by offering some really strange, crazy tailgate feature, they certainly have entered the tailgate accessibility wars by having that back corner step. And I would argue to say that I actually like that better than any of the other solutions on the market, because they've given you the technology to allow it to automatically deploy, which is nice, but it doesn't add weight to the tailgate. Any of the trucks that you see that have like a step in the tailgate, like Ford, or, you know, the Pro tailgate step that GM offers, or the Ram, you know, splitting tailgate, adds a significant amount of weight to the tailgate. This tailgate feels super, super light. It's easily supported. It's easy to lift up, and you still have quick access to it by having that corner step in the back corner. Now, I know Ram offers the corner step on some of their trucks, but it's a manual corner step. So they've kind of combined the best of both worlds with this. Now, another feature that this truck has is the rear air suspension. It doesn't have front air suspension, it's rear, but it does have adaptive suspension around it, so you can change your drive modes, things like that, and you can change it to a mode that might be more suited to your driving style. That being said, I didn't find much of a difference when changing that mode. Now, I know it made a bit of a difference, but I wouldn't say it was a huge difference. The truck still feels very light when you're driving it down the road. And what I mean by that, it's a stark contrast between this and say like a Denali that feels really heavy going down the road. Now, I personally like that heavy feel in a truck because if I hit a bump, if I hit expansion joints or rough roads, it doesn't feel like the truck wants to bounce around that much. This truck, even in comfort setting, when I would hit some bumps, kind of felt like it wanted to be all over the place a little bit. It was still very comfortable, but again, there were certain road conditions that you would drive over where it really felt like the truck was a little too light and it was kind of all over the place. Not in a really bad way, but certainly different than some of the other trucks I've driven. And with the rear air suspension, what's nice is when you're towing, you can level out the truck, or if you're towing, you can even raise the truck up a bit higher than normal. It works really well. It's a very quick system and it adapts very well. But what I felt was that with the system as advanced as it is, they should have been able to dial in some of the driving dynamics a little bit better. Now, when you're going over smooth roads, just like any truck, they all feel really good. It's really when you start hitting the bigger bumps, when you start hitting the expansion joints, when you start hitting potholes and things like that, that you can truly feel the difference between what the different types of suspensions truck manufacturers offer are and others. So in my opinion, this still isn't as comfortable as, say, a Ram Laramie Longhorn. It's just as comfortable as I would say like an F-150, Platinum, or Limited. And it is certainly not quite as firm or planted feeling as the GMC Denali Ultimate. So that's probably the best way I can describe it. Now, if we're talking about safety features on this truck is going to rival anything else on the market. That is really where Toyota kind of leads the way because you really don't have to pay anything extra for a lot of the safety features. Toyota just kind of implants safety features galore into all their vehicles. You get all the features from, you know, that automatic reversing stop if something gets in front of you. That's one of those things, or if something gets behind you, I'm sorry, but that's one of those things that I'm not necessarily a fan of when you're towing, because as I demonstrated in the reverse testing when I was using the trailer assist, it would kick in just because it saw that I had a trailer behind me. And heaven forbid you forget that it's on and you start backing up, it's going to slam the brakes on you, and anything inside of your trailer, especially if it's an RV, might go flying off the shelves. So you want to be sure you turn that feature off if you're going to be towing an RV. And every time you stop the vehicle and start it back up, it's going to reset that feature on you. So just keep that in mind. As far as other features, radar cruise control, lane departure warnings, blind spot mitigation, all that stuff, that is all there. It'll all help you kind of stay in your bubble and keep people from coming in your lane or you from going into their lane, or at least alerting you if something like that is happening. So that's really nice. I do like the tow mirrors. I like that they're extendable. I like that they give you a huge spot mirror on the bottom. So bravo to Toyota for providing those as an option. I do not like the fact that they moved away from steel bumpers. So you don't even have an option for steel bumpers or tow hooks. Up front, it's a plastic or a poly bumper, no tow hook option. In the back, it feels like it might be a mixture of aluminum and plastic, but I'm pretty sure it's all plastic. But these are areas that, you know, they're not necessarily going to impact the truck's survivability in an accident. And quite frankly, Toyota builds very, very strong vehicles and very safe vehicles if you are involved in an accident. But they certainly can limit the crash worthiness if you're in a small little bump, right? If you just run into something, and something that would normally not be impacted by a steel bumper might cause a little bit more damage to some of these bumpers. But who knows? Maybe it'll just cause it to pop in and pop right back out. It's hard to say. But yeah, they definitely moved away from having the traditional style bumper you might expect to see on a pickup truck. All that said, let's end this video talking about price. So this truck, as equipped, is about $65,000. And I know a lot of people are going to say, wow, that is a very expensive truck. But the reality is, this is a relative bargain for everything you get. For such a high-spec truck to be this price is kind of rare, to be honest. Most trucks now, especially like the Denali Ultimate, they can get upwards in the high 70s. I mean, very, very expensive. But this truck, being equipped the way it is with the technology it is at the size it is, you know, 65 grand is a pretty good bargain in this world that we're living in now, where everything is just skyrocketed in price. And if you haven't considered a Toyota Tundra, it would really behoove you to actually go to a dealership and see if they have one that you can drive. That way you can do a side-by-side comparison. You know, the ride differences and all that really only come to play if you're comparing it against the latest and newest versions of its competition. So if those aren't available, or if they're outside of your price range and you're looking for something that is highly competitive to them and will probably be a huge advancement over what truck you might currently have, let's say it's like a 2014 Silverado or Ram or Ford, or a 2013 or a 2011, well, this truck is going to be leaps and bounds ahead of those, regardless of what trim package you have. So it still makes sense to look at this truck as an option. And what's really nice is this truck is completely assembled in San Antonio, Texas. So this truck is not assembled overseas. You don't have to worry about who you're paying. I mean, yes, money's going to go everywhere. We are in a global economy, so it doesn't matter what truck you buy from what manufacturer, all the money is not staying here in the United States. A lot of it goes off to foreign companies that supply parts and components. But what's nice is that Toyota has invested heavily in the United States to build things like this. So that's a really good thing. It employs thousands of American workers who rely on their job with Toyota to feed their families and to support this economy. So that's always a good thing as well. Anyways, guys, I sure hope you've enjoyed this video. I'm trying to give you guys the most honest, you know, ethical and non-biased review I can give you of this truck, and I hope I've delivered on that. Guys, if you haven't had a chance, please take a moment, subscribe to my channel, give me a thumbs up, and we will talk to you again very soon.